What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. And break down some very important information on how the stocks are looking and what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I break down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. This offer ends tomorrow, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. NIO is up 1.08% for the day, holding up quite decently. Now we had this gap that was down here, but I think NIO filled the gap today. And now NIO is trying to rebound, but in order for that to happen, it's going to be very dependent on the market. Now, for earnings, I just want to call out that tomorrow we have Pfizer and AMD. Nothing too significant until we get to like Wednesday. For data affecting the markets, all the data comes out for the first 2 hours. We have some employment costs data in the morning, some house price index reports, Chicago PMI 15 minutes after the market opens to watch and see how that affects the markets. Consumer confidence at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern time or 30 minutes after open. Then just a couple of things involving the Fed. That's pretty much it. Minor pieces of data for Tuesday. Shouldn't be too crazy of a day because usually the days before the FOMC meetings tend to not be that crazy. They tend to be more extreme on Wednesdays when we tend to see more and more pressure, more and more, uh, changes because of the Fed and etc. So I'm going to be waiting to see how that goes. But when it comes to NIO, we have this new thing that has come out. The NIO ET7 has a review, and this is very interesting because they have very mixed reviews, especially looking at the European market. The ET7 is 5.1 meters long. It's once again looking very, very interesting, and it has a very, very nice looking design for it moving forward. The ET7 gets the company's trademark battery swap technology, so that's one thing that's very awesome. They give it a 3.5 out of 5 rating. They said that what's bad about it overall, looking at the verdict, is the rivals could go further on their charges and they could do it more quickly. Their reliability services are unknown in Europe and they feel very wide on European roads. What's good about them is they're well equipped, they have decent rides and handling, and they're very comfortable. So there's some good news and some bad news about NIO when it comes to the way that this is looking. We have two motors, which is very awesome. It has a very, very nice ride, very large sized battery, and you can't forget about the range of 360 miles. On top of this, what's good about the design is it's very futuristic. The cons are they're saying it looks very odd in some ways with generic styling. They said that the interior it looks very nice, lots of displays, lots of very comfy seats. But the cons are it has a very small boot area and has a very, very small rear, and they're saying the rear seats don't really fold down. Other things that they mention are the fact that the engine's performance has a very, very good performance, good brake performance, but they're saying that there's an inconsistent brake pedal response. I'm not too sure about that. And besides that, they just give it very mixed reviews overall. So different people have their opinions, which is fine. But I think that the biggest concern amongst these different individuals out there would be the fact that it's not really known in Europe. People are still learning about NIO there. It's very, very small. It's just barely growing there. Maybe it feels a little wide for European roads. That is a possibility. But it gives users more space on the inside of their cars. And then their services and etc. are still available. They're just going to continue to grow them. So for me, I mean, it's not the worst of ratings, but it's not like that perfect, not that great either. So it's not the end of the world. I mean, for the European market, it's very different from that of the Chinese market. And this is just one review, but I do believe that some good points were made going into the way it's looking. But when it comes to more data that's coming out, there's some talk about the ET5 as a go far away, and you could go on a trip with it and enjoy the world. So that's very interesting about what they're saying. Looking at NIO right now, we can see that the price-price ratio is dropping as NIO is showing some weakness relative to SPY. And on top of this, you can't forget that Tuesdays have a tendency of being created about 55.2% of the time. But besides that, we tend to see more volatility during the second hour and also during the second to last hour. And the volume was about 26 million. So the question is, what is NIO going to do from here? What's good about NIO is the fact that we have a possible inverse head and shoulders like structure developing. And I could see this thing try to rebound over the next few days, try to push it for at least $8 because we have that unfilled gap, and I think NIO is going to start pushing. Now, don't forget, over either like tomorrow or the day after, NIO has its deliveries report for the month of October coming out. That could be very telling for NIO. So I do anticipate some upside thanks to it. That's what I'm anticipating. We'll have to see just to be safe. Now, from a technical standpoint, we have this bullish divergence that was developing on the chart. We didn't get much of a bounce yet, but I believe it's still due for it. So we're going to be waiting and to see when this thing bounces. I believe tomorrow we're going to see NIO attempt for 7.61. We may start off a little weak because of the market, so we might come down first to 7.4, then bounce and push it for 7.61. Then I think NIO is going to try to push it for 7.8, and I think it's going to get stopped right there at the 50 EMA. So look for a little drop in bounce and another sideways day. For SPY, we may retrace towards 414, then bounce, start pushing him for 416. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders, but if we lose 412, then we could turn bearish. I'm not predicting we're going to lose it. It depends on different factors whether that happens or not. But look for this thing to retrace a bit, then bounce very nicely to continue even higher. For Tesla, we're going to be watching the weekly 200 EMA. If we lose the 200 EMA on the weekly, Tesla's going to turn even more bearish. If we hold above it, we could see an attempt for 200 again. It looks a little bit more bearish on the weekly and also on the daily. So there's a risk of Tesla potentially coming down towards the lower 190s. If that were to happen, we're going to be watching to see how that gets affected. So there is a risk of it coming down a bit more towards the low 190s, and we'll see if it bounces or not. Apple's looking a little weak on the weekly, but is trying to rebound this week relative to the last one. So considering earnings is coming up, I think Apple may continue to uptrend a little bit more. I could see it retesting 171.75 on the 4-hour time frame, and I'm seeing some potential signals that Apple's been trying to reverse and such. So look for a little retracement towards 168.7, then a bounce and a push up towards 171.75. So a drop in bounce seems very probable. Same thing with the QQQ. I could see this thing actually coming down a little bit. Now we have a potential wedge forming on it, so I could see it coming down towards like 348, and hopefully it bounces and we get a break to the upside. Then 352 is a possibility. Look for a little drop in bounce. I think that's still very probable. On Nvda stock, we're getting very tight as well. If we break to the upside and we manage to break and hold above our 413 area, we're going to be watching this thing come all the way up to 420 to 421. I think that Nvidia could test 421, looking at the nice inverse head and shoulders like structure. So I'm leaning a bit more in favor of the bulls on it. I think that these imbalances are going to attract it towards at least 420. So I see a bit more upside for Nvidia, and that's pretty much it for now. All right, so for NIO, look for a little drop in the morning. We might see NIO retrace with the market to retest our important support at 7.4. Then a bounce after that and a push for 7.61. If we break that, watch for 7.81. I think we're going to get a decent sized move. But that's it for now, guys. I thank you all so much for listening. Hopefully this video was helpful. Please remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.